So Ilaria is an assistant professor of hybrid intelligence in the knowledge representation and reasoning group at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. And she works on creating AI systems that generate complex narratives, which I think she will talk about today, and with a combination of both machine learning, but also knowledge representation. Among other things, she also coordinates the Network Institute Academia System projects, and she is actually part of the newly formed AI&Health Research Center. So, Amsterdam. Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Mustafa, because for me, Google Brain has always been a building, but I've never seen anybody physically from there. So I'm very happy that they exist for real. And then I wanted to talk a bit. So I come from a completely different area, not completely different area, but I'm from the academia. So my goal here is to convince you that academia is as fun and as worth as working in industry. And I thought I would do that by introducing a bit of my work. And so, as Sarah mentioned, I'm an assistant professor at the Vrije Universiteit of Amsterdam. But I also wanted to show you a bit how did I get here, and yeah, maybe you can see how much your path overlaps with mine. So a bit of myself. I'm not entirely sure of the background of the audience. But I mostly work at the crossing between several areas of artificial intelligence. So machine learning is one. But I also work in this area, which is called knowledge representation or knowledge graphs, where we deal with representing human knowledge in a machine-readable, structured form, in a way that we can try to make our system more intelligent. And I also look a bit at cognitive theories. This is not really my main area of expertise, but sometimes we try to see how these cognitive theories can be fed into our machines as well. So these are the three large areas. And in the specific, what I'm currently working on, but I've always worked on, is this knowledge graph. So you need to think of knowledge graphs as graphs that represent knowledge, so knowledge about entities and relationships between entities. But most of the time, these data sets are machine readable, so they represent human knowledge, but they can be read by machines. They represent knowledge that can be of different types. So it can be common sense knowledge, it can be domain specific knowledge. Imagine, I don't know, medical data or shopping information, or also factual knowledge like historical events, famous people, this kind of information. Many of these knowledge graphs are connected to each other. So entities from one data set often are linked to data sets of somewhere else. So imagine that I'm publishing my own data set, my own knowledge graph, and I connect entities in my data set to the ones of Sarah, for example, and they are openly accessible, so they are online and everybody can publish and access them. But the most important thing is that this information is there and can provide background knowledge to people. So if I'm somebody working with a system, and sometimes maybe I am missing part of the knowledge to achieve my task, well, this information can come from knowledge graphs. So we have this available knowledge. It can help humans when they do not have background knowledge, and let's try to make use of it. Now, the idea is that most of the applications that we currently have that rely on knowledge graphs use them mostly as simple silos of facts. So you have a knowledge graph. This is stored in a database. We call them triple stores. But we don't really go beyond simply extracting facts from there. Facts in terms of triples. The triple is a minimal unit in a graph. But we can do much more, because we are not dealing with graphs. We are dealing with graphs of knowledge. So we can try to build complex narratives. A narrative can be an idea, it can be a research claim, it can be a research hypothesis that you state, it can be an argument with claims and warrants and counterfactuals. They can be stories. So you need to think of narratives in a broader sense, not simply in a storytelling setting. So then the question is, how can we connect the facts that we extract from knowledge graphs in a logical way? For example, with causal, with temporal, with modeled relationships. How can we build these narratives? And the way I work on with a team of people is to use a combination of machine learning and knowledge representation. So machine learning deals with the data, with the experience. Knowledge representation provides the symbols, the structure on top of this data. And we hope that by combining these two, we can develop systems that can reach an understanding of a meaning. So the combination of data and symbol can reach the ultimate level, which is the meaning one. We call these hybrid systems. So in practice, I work with in two main areas. One is and with a number of people. So I'm not doing this alone, but I have both postdocs and PhDs. So this is a full team of people that one day you might also want to join. We work mostly on medical AI, so we try to develop systems that can support scientists with their research questions and tasks. For example, we're working with Lise on generating research hypotheses from structural meta reviews. These are biomedical data that are summarized in meta reviews, and we want to automatically extract research hypotheses and maybe learn new ones. So actually suggesting new ones to the scientists to simplify their job. But we are also working, for example, with Majid, another postdoc, on explaining clinical trials. So we have these machine learning models that learn from several knowledge graphs what is the best clinical trial that you might get recommended to go. And then we are trying to make these models a bit more explainable. So why do we get this particular trial? So this also relates to the questions about interpretability. These are the kind of things that we can do with knowledge graphs because they allow to have models which are a bit more transparent. I also work in another domain, which is at the crossing between AI and robotics. I mean, you need to think of robotics not in terms of hardware, but really as the brain of the robot. And we want to we work on feeding mobile agents with a bit of knowledge about the world, so they can work on their tasks a bit better. So maybe providing common knowledge about objects or about spaces. So I have several PhDs working on this. So Nikos is working on building personal memories using knowledge graphs. So you have two agents, and they need to they need to discuss on a narrative and negotiate about the meaning. So do I mean the same thing that you mean? I have Niklas. This is actually a PhD student at the UVA. So I'm collaborating with people in one of the labs at the computer science department, and he's working on integrating prior knowledge from knowledge graphs into reinforcement learning agents. And then I just started with a new PhD, Mark, on integrating common sense knowledge graphs on robots to help them performing everyday tasks like, I don't know, sorting objects or maybe navigating. So these are pretty much the areas I'm working on. And how did I get here? This is the part I wanted to discuss a bit. I actually am not a computer scientist. And I do not have a degree in computer science. So I did, during high school, I did language studies. And I started my university career with a bachelor in language and translation. So I was actually by the end of my bachelor, I really wanted to be a translator. And then I moved. So I'm Italian. This was in Italy, and then I moved to Paris, where I joined the Master of Computational Linguistics, which is, linguistics was an area I had studied during my bachelor, and it was integrating AI into what I knew. So this is where I got in touch with AI for the first time, and there I actually mostly learned about NLP, so NLP techniques of all kinds. I had to deal with a terminal format for the first time with Python or Java programming. That was fun, hard but fun. And then for my PhD, I really liked knowledge representation. This was a subfield of AI, which I had studied during my master. So I went to the UK and I did work. I did my PhD in the UK, and I stayed there for a few years before joining the FU. I'm actually missing a bullet point here about the FU. So the bottom line, why am I showing you this? The idea is that it doesn't really matter what your background is. And if you have enough will, you can always change and catch up a bit with the content. And Amsterdam is really the place where you can do that. You have plenty of opportunities. In particular, one of the things I wanted to highlight is that multidisciplinarity is always a strength, not really a weakness. So you just need to if you come from side fields, I am now working with a bioethicist. So if you come from a different field, you just need to create your own narrative, talking about narratives. Why Amsterdam? Well, it's exciting and there's plenty of opportunities, as I said. So I'm joining what Mustafa was saying. By personal experience, Amsterdam is smaller than London, but it's also more livable than Paris. No offense with Parisians, if anybody is from there. You don't have any public transport stress whatsoever. So it's just and this is it's just walkable and livable. The FU master in AI is the 12th most asked by recruiters in the Netherlands. So we have an excellent master at the FU, one very good, which is also at the UvA, but I need to partake a bit for the FU myself. But the most important thing is that the scene in AI is super active. So you have research initiatives, so research centers. Think of ELIS or the ICAI Center. We now have a new AI&Health center at the FU. So different topics as well. We have industries that are oriented towards AI, development of AI systems. Philips, Royal Philips is one of those, but we saw Google now, ING, so even in other fields like the banks. And we have plenty of partnerships between universities and industries. So it's not true that if you come to the university, you only need to teach. We actually do plenty of activities. So we are working with Qualcomm. The UvA is working with Qualcomm. We at the FU work with Elsevier, with Huawei, and there will be more to come. So yeah, this is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for, and you already also answered a lot of my questions, actually. So maybe now I have to ask another question for you, which is further down the line of the questions I wanted to ask. So now you have said, like, you have made, both you and Mustafa have made an excellent case why people should come to Amsterdam. But one of the things I think we are supposed to discuss is also what could be improved. And, you know, there might be things that could be improved. And this is a very difficult question. Do you want to try to think about that, or?
What could be improved about the city, or in with respect to AI?
I think what we can improve that it's controllable, because I think if we say the weather, that's a bit outside of our domain. Although I'm not sure what the Google Brain team is doing with the weather thing. So
if I have to be honest, the housing situation is something that should be supported a bit more. And this is as somebody coming from abroad, when you need to move here, this is really tough. Even though I know that the universities are really helping as much as they can. So if you come from, it's worse if you come from outside the university, maybe with industries, and you need to find a place for yourself. So in our university, for example, we have support for students, but also for partners. If I'm coming with my husband, then my husband will get support to find a job. So I know.
I would assume that Google does that as well. So I hope. By the way, you actually do have a question on content. So this is something maybe you can answer. So it's Ajay Kumar Tiwari says, can you comment on the Giant, the general index released yesterday in terms of knowledge representation? So that's one question, if you know what he's referring to.
No, I actually have not. I don't know whether this is related to the index of researchers, perhaps, and that was released. It's a new index about researchers. Am I right? Or I
think maybe that's something we could maybe. Okay, that's possible. But there is another. Yes, that's what he said. He says yes. If you want to comment on that, and otherwise he also has another question. Is this the second question? I think it's easier. So maybe you can start with that one. Is if you work on discourse.
So I don't work on conversational AI myself, but I did work with in collaboration with CEUR-WS last year. So there were a couple of tenure trackers that were working on conversational agents, and then the idea was we try to integrate knowledge graphs into the application. So how can we make the agent a bit more aware of the context, maybe by feeding a bit more information. That's one thing. Regarding the index, I'm not sure whether I understand the question correctly, but so if the question is whether knowledge representation is enough represented with respect to these citation indexes, obviously now we are so AI has always this thing that we are it's divided in these two waves. There's a moment in which machine learning is super popular, and a moment in which knowledge representation is super popular, and they kind of alternate. Now we are in a moment in which machine learning is very popular, and so the knowledge representation community is much smaller, not necessarily smaller in size, but smaller in visibility at least. And probably also in size, but it's also, so the last time the knowledge representation area was really popular was the beginning between 2000 and 2010, and also the access to internet was much less. So you need to give maybe in 5 years time we will have way more people into also in knowledge representation. So with that respect, but also don't trust too much citation indexes, and it's really easy to get in judging mistakenly following citation indexes. I mean, they mostly represent a researcher, but they don't only represent a researcher. That's my experience, at least.
Okay. Oh, okay. So he's thanking you for your answer. So, okay, thank you, Ilaria. I would